Rosena Allin-Khan.
Good morning.
The MP for, is it still just Tooting or has it got
still just Tooting?
Oh, good, yeah, I forget seat names. And Sam Blewett, who is an author of London Playbook. You didn't have to stay up all night last night, Sam.
So got a bit more rest for once.
Actually awake.
Did we now?
What was well, I'm not going to ask what the best party you went to last night was, because obviously it was our one, right? But what was the second best party you went to, Rosena?
Actually, this is going to sound really boring, but I had a lovely meal with lots of people who've been really supportive over the last year for me as a politician, because I think we don't often get to have many opportunities to say thank you to people. So before I came to your party, I actually had the most wonderful meal. I mean, I have had way too much gusto than should be legally allowed, but I did have a lovely meal in gusto, and that was really nice, just catch up with some people that we never get to see.
That's good, that's sweet. What about you, Sam?
Politico was by far the best party for Speakeasy. Yeah, and a good night on the town. Relatively early nights, everyone turned in up. Sensible, were we?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. We're in the kind of conference zone and it just seems a little bit quieter on the Sunday, but I don't know if that's just everyone getting started and, you know, it's going to kind of ramp up into gear today. So, order of the day today is we're going to spend about 15 minutes talking about the news of the day. This is Playbook Live, this session, which means we're kind of doing the easy bit. Someone else, Andrew McDonald, has written Playbook, and we're going to talk about kind of what's coming up, what's in the news, etc. So, the big thing today is Rachel Reeves' speech. She's up at, 12 o'clock? Usually, this is like the big event of conference, isn't it, apart from the leader's speech? Sam, is it kind of as big as usual?
No, I think you're right. I think, you know, with cash so difficult at the moment, I think Rachel Reeves can't really come here and make the big sort of splashy commitments she might hope to. There'll be, I think, notable absences that some people might want to see, and that would be she won't be raising two-child benefit cap. I don't know what you might want to chip in on that, Rosena. But do you think is that something you needed to see from the Chancellor today?
I personally would have loved to have seen the scrapping of the two-child benefit cap. What I have heard, though, is that though we've been hearing that a scrapping is coming, it is in fact going to be a scrapping when they can afford to. And I personally think that's really disappointing. I don't think we can play politics with poverty. And I don't know if you came out of the station at Liverpool and saw the big Save the Children sign. This really matters to people. And I think if that's the case, members will be deeply disappointed, as will many MPs. And, you know, council leaders and people on the ground at the grassroots.
Yeah, no, what the government would say is that, you know, you can't announce things without having the money to support it. What if they were to say, Rachel Reeves or Keir Starmer was to say, well, you know, we're not ruling it out, we're really considering it hard, we promise that we are taking this very seriously, and they signpost that they're going to move towards it. Is that not enough for you there? Because, you know, that will mean they still do it in the end, won't it?
I still work shifts in my local A&E in St George's, and I see kids coming in who don't have enough food on the table. They can't wait for in the end. They need food now. They need warm homes now. Some kids whose parents can't afford to turn the heating on, they come in with burns because they've got an old mouldy water bottle that has burst in the night. We can't play politics with poverty. And quite simply, we need it scrapped now, and people can't wait. And of course, we all understand that there are limitations on finances. We understand that we inherited a car crash of an economy from the Tories. But there are some things that absolutely have to take a priority, and child poverty is that for me.
Is it Keir Starmer playing politics with poverty?
Well, I think Keir Starmer, and I've worked with him, I was in the Shadow Cabinet for 3.5 years, I think he wants the best for the country, I think he wants the best for our children, but I do think that sometimes he is ill-advised, and I think that the number 10 operation needs to professionalise a bit, because if you know you are not going to be able to scrap the two-child benefit, don't tout it for like 2 weeks, don't get everybody excited and hopeful about it, just be honest.
Sam, obviously we know that Rosena's not alone among MPs in having this feeling, right? How annoyed are MPs about this? Like, how widespread is this as a thing?
I think a lot of, particularly the new intake, came into politics sort of during the years of austerity, and they knew just how much the feeling of their constituents and their supporters, the anger they have about this kind of policy. So it's really raw for them. I think it's something that they very much expected a Labour government to come in and do, and its absence after a year already, yeah, there's real anger, I believe.
Okay. Well, I'm going to move on to something else now, which is Shabana Mahmood's speech today, which kind of, we've suggested in Playbook this morning, might actually overshadow, the Chancellor's speech in some way. Do you want to talk us through kind of why that is, Sam?
Yeah, I think so. Shabana Mahmood today will be announcing some strengthening of rules around indefinite leave to remain. I think it obviously comes at a really interesting moment. I think we just had Farage last week, Nigel Farage, making such a big thing, really like introducing this topic to the public, which I don't think people had a great deal of understanding or belief that there were problems around ILR. So today, Shabana Mahmood is sort of tightening these rules up. Now, I don't know what you think, but like some people might suggest like now she's aping Nigel Farage. She might be going, I don't know, playing into his hands a little bit more. Definitely Home Office suggests that they've been having this in the works for a long time. But what do you think the risks are around this?
So I've had a look at some of the proposals, and some of them do make sense. You see that in some of our international counterparts, like in Australia and New Zealand. I went to work in Australia as a doctor for a while, and I know that some things are really important, particularly for the individual themselves feeling that they can get work in the workplace. I think having good English, all of that stuff is important. There are a couple of things though that make me slightly concerned about the practicalities. For example, the community service. If you were coming over as a skilled worker, for example, working in our NHS, you're a nurse, you're a doctor. I don't know how some of those things would actually work in practice. So I think it would be interesting to see what's in her speech today and how it all plays out. I think it's important we don't try to out-reform, but I do think that if you look at some of our international counterparts, this won't be completely out of step with what they're doing.
It's really tricky with reform, isn't it? Because at the same time, you've got, on one hand, Keir Starmer saying that reform's ILR policy, which goes way further than what we're talking about today, was racist. And then on the other hand, you've also got Keir Starmer saying, actually, the left was kind of too timid on tackling immigration, and that's one of the big problems over the last few years. Do you think he can actually manage to tread that path and not end up saying something that each side doesn't want to hear?
I think there's always a way. There's always a way if you want to find one. And I think that comes with, again, professionalising the number 10 outfit and making sure that there are people who are not thinking with a political hat in terms of like left and right, but thinking with a practical, what's going to work, let's take the tribalism out of all of this. I mean, we are always criticised at the moment for not being a broad enough church, right? That is a huge problem for us in the Labour Party. And I think it's about doing the right thing at every step that is evidence-based, rooted in fairness, without listening to all the noise that is coming from either side. And there is a way to do that, but that takes a bit of bravery, and that takes a bit of ownership, and that takes saying, look, this is what we think is right, these are policies that work, and we will not cower to the racists, and we will call them out for who they are, but also we're going to do practical things. And if the far left don't like it, unfortunately, that's just a shame for them, because this is what's going to work and this is what we're going to do.
So, Rosena, you've brought up personnel in number 10 quite a few times. There's been a lot of changes so far, but what point do you think it's for the leader that's the problem?
I think it's always a challenge, because I'm not close to the number 10 machine anymore. But what I do know is that when you look at some of the arguments and infighting that we've had recently, I think a lot of that could have been avoided. For example, the welfare bill. For example, the U-turning on the winter fuel allowance, the two-child benefit cap. It's happening, is it not happening, what's happening? All of those challenges and arguments, as it were, play out in the public. I think a lot of that could be sorted before the rest of anyone else has to see it, because I think if you're the voting public and you have to see what's going on and put your trust in a government, you need to have some faith that policies are thought out before they come to the fore, because otherwise you don't know what to trust. Are you going to be supporting a party and a leader based on one set of policies that are not going to be there the following year?
I'm going to talk about one other thing that's in Playbook this morning, and that's the classic thing you always get at conference every year, which is the members' motions on something that the leadership really doesn't want to have brought up on the conference floor. And this time it seems to be the issue of what to do about Gaza and the war there. So you've got two motions coming today. I think one of them goes further than the other. One of them says that essentially adopts the word genocide to describe what's happening in Gaza. Sam, like, how much is this kind of a, the usual sideshow, it's not binding and all the rest of it, and how much is it actually a problem for?
No, sure, this isn't binding, this isn't a conference where it's actually set for policy making of the leadership, but it does have a big bearing on the leadership, right? It's not a good look for Keir Starmer when he's trying to take one line over Gaza and Israel, and he's going to have a strong, we expect, I imagine, sign from a membership that they want him to go further. I mean, where do you think the government should be calling out what's going on in Gaza as genocide at the moment?
100%. I think it'll be no secret to either of you that I think it should be adopting the word genocide. I don't think we should be scared of using it. I think that it's been really clear. The government, if they wanted cover, they've got it from the UN Commission of Inquiry. So it has been deemed by experts that it is a genocide. 4 out of 5 metrics have been met. I think the challenge for the government is once they adopt that, they are then duty bound to act a certain way, and it's going to be whether they feel they can do that. That is a sticking point. I don't think there is any equivocation about, or there should be any equivocation about the fact that there is a genocide happening in Gaza.
Yeah, it's not just about kind of having cover though, is it? Because the government's argument is that there's a legal process here. Is that not fair?
I don't know what more they could possibly want in order to have proof that there is a genocide going on. I mean, they can feel free to pull whatever levers they have to pull to go down formally adopting that. But I think the fact that it's on the floor of conference, I think the fact that it is up for discussion shows the strength of feeling amongst members, amongst many MPs, amongst the British public. And I think, polling isn't great at the moment for the Labour Party. There's room for it to grow, and there's lots of time for the next election, but there isn't a lot of time for the next local elections. And so Keir Starmer's talking a lot about the threat of reform, but what cannot be ignored is the Green and the Lib Dem threat. And they're able to galvanise votes and support in our communities at the moment. And I see this in London, and you probably do too, is because of some of our things like our inertia getting to talk about Gaza in the way that people would want us to, things like the welfare bill, that is losing trust in some of our communities where we're going to have people go vote Green and Lib Dem instead.
Been getting leadership chatter about the PM. How serious is it, Sam?
I think for now he's surely safe for some time. I think people mostly are looking towards May, when we've got the local elections and the Senedd and Scottish elections. I mean, we've obviously had Andy Burnham's shadow looming over this conference a lot, but I actually picking up the impression people are a bit annoyed about it. I think he went a little bit too public with his ambitions, and I don't think anyone really likes sowing disunity within the Labour Party or such naked ambition.
What do you think?
I think I agree with Sam, because it is conference, and that's when you're supposed to come together and have a united front, galvanise around the leader and the party, and create this positive image, because at the end of the day, it's not a game, right? The public are watching. They need to feel that they can trust us, and if they're seeing what looks like games to them playing out, that's not a good look for us. That being said, look, I've got a lot of time for Andy. I wish he'd stop some of that anti-London nonsense that he does. But I think that the timing isn't great. And I think right now we should be focused on getting our positive Labour messages out there. And there are many of them. There are lots of positive things, and I think the oxygen should be spent on not having internal battles, but actually putting those messages out.
So you've led me neatly on, Rosena, to you ran for the deputy leadership briefly.
Oh yeah, no, I did. Oh no, what now? No, I didn't run. I ran before. The last time.
You kind of put your hat in the ring, but it was...
This time?
Yes, there was...
No. I was considering,
considering.
whether I would
sorry.
run. Yeah, no. I ran before, like a few years ago, properly, and I enjoyed that. Had a great time. I dabbled with the idea of doing it this time, but didn't, and fully backed Lucy Powell.
You know, us journalists, we just take everything and run with it. I was going to ask what you think of the deputy leadership race, because we've had a bit of kind of... you're backing Lucy Powell. We've had some people... We get all the miserablists coming to us who kind of say, oh, neither of them are kind of different enough or independent enough for the government. What do you make of that?
Yeah, look, I think it's always more fun when there are multiple candidates. And one of the reasons I decided not to stand, because I thought it was important to galvanise around one person that wasn't in the government. Because I think it's important that you have someone who can respectfully challenge from the inside, and isn't intentioned, by the fact that they're in the cabinet and hold a cabinet position. And the reason I think Lucy would be good is because from speaking to her really early on, it is clear that she does get that though the fight is like reform, there are other challenges such as independence, the your party, my party, our party, whatever party that's called, all the independents that come together, the Greens, the Lib Dems. And also, I have been with her and she had a cabinet for a long time. I know how she operates, and I think she would sort of tell it straight to the leadership, and she'd be a really good campaigning deputy leader. So it seemed to make perfect sense that we just, get behind one candidate and support them.
On the deputy leadership, though, I don't know, but tell me if I'm wrong, but one of the things I heard was the reason you didn't run is because you wanted to keep your powder a bit dry for maybe City Hall, a challenge for London Mayor.
It's so gossip.
Is it?
It's so gossipy. Well, no, I mean that's a great theory, though, isn't it? I wanted to keep my powder dry. I wanted to keep my powder dry. Well, no, it was genuinely because I thought it was important to get behind one person, because it became very clear that with lots of people thinking about it, we could easily distract ourselves and then end up with no one. So that's not the reason. But look, we have a brilliant Mayor of London, and he's in post doing a great job. So yeah.
I note that your powder is still conveniently dry.
My powder is dry.
Just in case.
Well, a girl can dream. No, seriously, I think it's for me, even though everybody knows, I will say what I think, and I will vote with my values. I do think it's really important to stay united as a party and stand behind the leaders that we've got, particularly when they're doing a fantastic job. Like Allin-Khan's doing a good job. I do totally support Keir and the work that he's doing, and I think we do have a real challenge on our hands to make sure that we win London properly in May. I think there are going to be a few surprises there, and to fight some of the toxic, nasty narrative. I mean, if you just look at what happened to Sadiq just last week with Donald Trump, I mean, the orange geezer having a pop from over the waters. What is that about? That really says that there are politicians that will do anything they can to be divisive, racist, bigots. And I actually went into bat last week for Sadiq and said that Donald Trump should wind his neck in and stay out of our business.
Good luck with that, as we say in Playbook. Thanks very much. I'll close with, what are you looking forward to the most today at conference? I'll start with Sam, or the whole conference, really.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Shabana Mahmood's speech. I think it's going to be a big moment where we get to have a good read of where we're going on immigration.
Rosena?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be quite a pivotal moment, and I'm still hoping and praying that we scrap the 2-child benefit cap.
Right,
today.
Well, thank you very much for joining us for Playbook Live. Our next session is almost back-to-back. We have the leader of Scottish Labour, Anas Sarwar, and followed by the First Minister of Wales, Eluned Morgan. So that's at 10:30 and 11. So don't forget to tune into that. Until then, thank you very much.
Thank you.